Hi, everyone. It's Adam Coleman with Wyndham Capital Mortgage. I just wanted to go through a quick rent to buy calculator, just because this is a big question right now for first time home buyers, making sure it really makes sense to buy right now versus rent. So I have an actual live scenario here where I've got the house price, I've got the rent that you could be paying for that same house, and I thought this was a good comparison to run through. This calculator is just online. It's a calculator.net. Anybody can get to it. It's free. I like it just because it has a lot of input tools, but it's still very easy and user friendly. So running through this real quick, the house price is 600,000. I'm assuming a 5% down, so nothing crazy. We're not doing 20% or anything. For right now, I'm just using a 6.5% return or mortgage rate for a 30-year fixed. Buyer paid closing costs, and this is in North Carolina. 1% is actually probably conservative. It's probably closer to maybe half of this, or a little bit between half and a full percent. Property taxes again are a little bit conservative, so I want to give you some, somewhat, conservative, and realistic numbers, and not pretty this up too much, like some mortgage companies tend to do to try to prove their point. I definitely want to make this as unbiased as I can. This includes property tax increases. It also includes homeowners insurance and HOA dues. So, we're factoring in a neighborhood that has some amenities as well. Maintenance costs. This is a big one that this calculator includes that others do not. Obviously, it's not free to own a house. There's going to be some maintenance involved. So on average, I think 1% is a pretty good number to use. If it's a pretty good house, fairly new, and you're not having to make major renovations, this is a good estimate for the time being. And for this particular house, it didn't look like it would need much in terms of maintenance. Home value appreciation, 3.5% is pretty average over the last 40 to 50 years, even if you ignore the craziness of the last year or two with the properties jumping up so much in value. So that's a decent average to use. Obviously, there's no guarantee of what the house prices will be, but if we're using previous returns, that's kind of where we would be at. For this particular house, the rental amount was about $3,000 a month. We're assuming a 6% potential rental fee increase, which is on average about where it is in North Carolina. But nationwide, it's somewhere in that 5 to 7% range as well, even, again, ignoring the craziness of the last year or two. This has renter's insurance, obviously. Security deposit is 1 month's rent, just on average. And then average investment return, I'm just ballparking at 7%. Again, that's a complete guess, but this is trying to factor in what you could do with that down payment if you had that money. And the idea would be that you could invest it, but that's assuming a 7% return, which is obviously not a guarantee. This has tax rate information. I would honestly take that out as zero. I don't want that to skew the numbers more favored to mortgages. I want this to be a little bit more realistic because a lot of people could just take the standard deduction and not even really do the mortgage interest deduction anyway. So if you have all that plugged in, you just hit calculate, and this will go through and actually tell you, about how long you need to keep the house in order to justify buying versus renting. So in this case, it's about 5.5 years. And again, these are pretty conservative numbers, so it's probably ends up being a little bit less than that. But if you're planning on being in a house for at least 5 years, then in this scenario, it would be better to buy the house, do a mortgage, and instead of renting. So I just wanted to kind of run through that, give everybody an example of what this calculator looked like, how it kind of applied to a real life situation. Take a look at it. I'll include the link below if you wanted to play around with this number. But if you need anything and want to run through an actual scenario, please give me a call or shoot me an email. And you can reach out to me at the contact information below. I appreciate it. Thanks.